You must be careful about the words you use, or the words you allow to be used in your house. Words are things. You must be careful. Careful about calling people out of their names, using racial pejoratives and sexual pejoratives and all that ignorance. Don't do that.
It's time to talk about it.
Pull up a chair and take a seat.
We're serving up recipes for life.
With Hampton University's Dr. Richard Mason and Dr. Tamara Williams.
Welcome to the Sunday Brunch.
This is Dr. Tamara Williams.
And this is Dr. Richard Mason. And welcome back to the table for another edition of Sunday Brunch with the Good Doctors.
The good doctors.
Hey, how's it going this week for you?
This has been quite a week, bro. I can tell you that last week we buried my husband's grandmother, and then today my grandmother transitioned, and so this has been quite a week. And like we typically say, thank God we don't look like what we've been through.
Exactly. We certainly know that we are keeping you and the family in prayer. You know, we've been praying all week and all last week. You know, once we got the news, of course, we're continuing to pray for you, you know.
That's one of the reasons I had to get to the table for Sunday Brunch, because, you know, things happen in everybody's life. It's not unique to me or you or anybody else. Everybody is going to go through some things, and things that you predict and some things you just can't predict. And so that's one of the reasons we had to come to the table anyway.
Definitely
we had to come to the table. After we talked to Jesus, we got to come to the table anyway.
That's right. You know, I tell folks, you know, being in the helping profession, life is going to keep on life. And even when we have things going on in our lives, I always tell folks, check on those folks who are helping others, or who, as we always say, your strong friends, you know.
Check on your strong friends.
They need that support. They need that, you know, that additional check-in sometimes as well. You know, that, hey, how you doing? Or, hey, just know that I'm praying for you, you know, because you just never know what people are going through. You know, we always, as you say, you know, we make things look easy because that's just who we
don't
are.
We though? And people make the assumption that because we are strong individuals that we always must remain that way, and that we will always be the people who will show up that way, and you know that we don't have feelings from time to time. But that's why I couldn't wait to run to the table, because your people are your people. And your people are your people, and you're my people, and the people that we bring to the table become our people, and they help us service a great number of people. So that, you know, our table has a purpose, and every day you're not walking in your purpose is like dying. Right. So I love to walk in my purpose. It feels good to do that, even when it's hard to do it sometimes. It's still a good work.
Definitely so. And it's always good to have those people. I tell you, I think back to, you know, when I lost my mother, and two of the first people that showed up at my office was you and Professor Kelly, you know. And,
that's correct. And you are my people. I'm always going to show up. That's correct.
You know, and it's like, no matter how much you smile and what you do, you know, it's always good to have your people check on you, you know. And so I will always be forever grateful for that moment, that day in that office, for you two being there, you know, for me when I needed that, you know. And so I really do appreciate that. So that's one of the things that we definitely need to talk about, so that people can, you know what to do sometimes, you know, and recognize the fact that it is necessary. You know, show up for your people, even those people who are strong, who appear to be strong, because sometimes we just don't know what people are going through. You know, they may be smiling and all hell is breaking loose, you know, so that's real talk.
There's a lot. You really don't know. And we all show stress in different ways. And so I wanted us to be able to have that conversation today. Our topic today, we're going to be talking about, you know, how do you stay motivated as life continues to life?
Exactly.
How do you continue to be in the moment and not get stuck in the moment?
Exactly. Well, you go ahead and get us started, because you know where I'm headed. That's all I'm going to say.
I know where you're headed, and I already know what you're bringing back. Because you my people, you don't even have to tell me. I already know what's going to happen. I already
That's
know
right.
what's going to happen.
I got you 2 biscuits today because you need it.
Listen,
you
I
need
may
2
need to
biscuits.
feed my feelings today. I may need 2 biscuits and 2 handfuls of bacon today. I may have to put it down. I'm joking, but I'm not.
I got you covered.
Roll that food. I want to welcome to our table, even though we talked about our topic about staying motivated during these rough times as life continues to life and those type of things. She's not just a motivational speaker. She's so many other things. I wholeheartedly doubt that we will be able to finish our conversation in this one brunch meeting today because she's so many different things. But I did want us to have a chance to meet her, greet her, and begin our conversation and journey about how we can continue to move through life during troubling times as it continues to life. So I want to welcome to the table Mrs. Michelle Simpson. Mrs. Michelle Simpson, welcome to Sunday Brunch.
Welcome to the table.
Thank you so much for having me at the table. There is room at the table for me, so thank you both very much.
And I am so glad that you feel that welcome to the table to know that there is room for you. Because there is definitely room for the beautiful you sitting across from us at this table.
Well, I am honored to be here. And I'd like to just give it back to you, my condolences to you, on the loss of your family members in such a close time. So, and I was just listening to you all congregate and just having that conversation about, the losses. And we really just don't know the time or the hour. Yeah.
I don't think anybody's ever ready.
No.
Even when you can predict it, it's not, the finality of it is something that is difficult.
Absolutely. Nothing we can really prepare for, which is why I think it's important that we understand and recognize what our purpose is if we are in a space that we can identify that and not delay the hour or the time that we fulfill that purpose. Because time is fleeting and time is short. And as I was listening to you, my mother actually passed at the ripe young age of 59 years old of colon cancer. And it was during the time when they had not discovered colonoscopies and all of that good stuff. And she was just very young. And I think that was my aha moment. We kind of think that, you go through stages of growth and youth and life, and we're going to make it to a certain plateau in a certain place. But that moment proved to me that whatever you are called to do, need to do, choose to do, and whatever is inside of you to do, you just need to get busy and do it now.
Do it right now.
Yes.
Do it right now. That's one of the reasons we talk about not setting New Year resolutions, but staying in motion and getting it done right when you know it needs to happen. Do it right now.
Oh, yeah. And my thing now is life is too short, and you just never know. Sometimes you may think it's the seasoned person who's going to pass before the younger person. But I've come to realize, I heard someone say several years ago, it's not always the leaning tree that falls, and that has always
say that one more time, brother.
It's not always the leaning tree that falls, and that certainly resonates with me. And that's why I always tell folks, there's although we want to plan for the future, but guess what? You need to do it now. Just like Nike said, just do it. You can't keep on saying, I'm going to plan to do it later. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. One thing my grandmother used to talk about, she had china in the china cabinet, and sometimes folks always wait for that special occasion to pull it out. My grandmother would grab a plate or a cup of salsa anytime she felt like it. She said, it's mine and there's no time like now.
That part. Grandma was wise in that. My mom's motto was she was a get her done chick. And she wanted the work that she had did to speak for her. She was really big on that. And so she wasn't, and she said, more of that thought of the work is always plentiful, but the laborers are few. So, I got to get busy getting in there and getting it done. So I can appreciate people understanding you need to get it done. But there's also parts of how do you deal with that? So how do you stay motivated? Michelle, talk to us about how do you stay motivated when life is lifing?
Yeah, and most people will say that's the hard part because when lives, we really first jump into our emotions and we feel it. We have to process it. We have to go through it. And I would encourage everybody to let you know there's no right or wrong way to go through it. You've got to do what you need to do for you.
One
And
more time on that. One more time.
there's no right or wrong way. Whatever way works for you is what you do. Nobody is going to check off that list. If you want to cry, cry. If you want to holler, holler. If you want to curl up in the bed, it is absolutely okay. Because I always tell the children around me, nobody can beat you being you. And therefore, nobody knows you like the one that made you. So whatever it takes for you to get through it is what you need to do. But to but at the same time, we got to get through that process because those that have gone before us, they're gone, but you're still here. And as long as you're still here, there's a reason for that. There's a reason you still wake up in the morning. There's a reason he has given you that breath and that life and that vitality because your time is not up and he's not through with you yet. So therefore, I always tell people I'm not assigned to everybody, but I am assigned to somebody. And I
Hey,
don't feel
now
that
that
I
will
have,
preach right there.
yeah, not. And then there's another one. Look, here we go, because we're at the brunch table. I'm not
Here we go.
everybody's cup of tea, but I'm somebody's entire pot of tea.
Okay.
That pot.
I'm a whole pot, baby.
I'm a whole pot.
Look, my favorite number is 3, so I think I'm 3 pots.
So with that being said, once you come into realization of who, and sometimes it's hard for us to know who we are and what we're here to do, but as long as you have that breath, you really do have to pick yourself up by the bootstraps sometime. And I heard you both say earlier, as I was listening, you need Dr. Mason. Dr. Mason needs you. You look forward to having the Sunday brunch. The people listening look forward to coming on because you can pull strength from anywhere. But I think it's all in your assignment. Once you really, really understand why you are here, and you have to accept that. And as soon as you accept it, you're right. All hello burgers are going to break loose and things are going to happen around you and it's going to become difficult. And that is your pure sign that you're on the right track to doing what you're called to do. And we're really not here for ourselves. What I do is not for me. I am here for somebody else's encouragement, somebody else's strength, somebody else's motivation, for somebody else to see, oh my gosh, she got through that. I know I can get through that.
That's right.
I can make
that
it
part
through.
right there. That part right there. That we may not have the same something, but we all gonna have something.
That's right.
Something.
And your something, just getting through your something does allow other people to be motivated, understanding that with God not being a respecter of persons, if he helps somebody else get through something, he can help you too.
That's right.
There's enough room in the end, just like there's enough room at the table.
That's right. That's right. Well, Michelle, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, because that really, I think that's going to resonate a little bit more when you talk about how to get through and motivating folks and all and what it takes for you to do this. So tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Well, actually, I am, I proudly say I've been married for 41 years to the same man. That's motivation.
That's saying something when you say that
all by
man.
itself. Yeah, and I was an elementary education major at the University of Maryland in Baltimore County back in the 80s. But what happened is when I saw how restricted the teachers were in the school system, I was a dance minor, education major, and I really wanted to combine the two. I wanted to combine dance and give young people an opportunity to have creative expression, to express themselves. Because just like we were talking about the grieving process, that's going to look different. And sometimes kids can't articulate how they feel. They can't express themselves by just telling you a story. Sometimes it's movement. It can be anything. So that was my genesis in the beginning. I was like, I'm just out of the box, very unique. And I don't do things the way most people think they should be done. So
that sounds good to me.
Yeah, because it's like it doesn't look like
it's
anybody
already
else's.
been done already, and it's not working. So let's do something else.
Right. So with that, I ended up not teaching, of course,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like I'd be that person. I have very high standards and my boundaries for children are different. And the first time one of the kindergartners kicked me or cussed me out, I'd probably lose my job. So I said,
Oh
no,
Mm-hmm.
let's
no,
not go down that route.
not over the
So
kindergarten. Oh no,
yeah, because that's the time we're
at
in
least
now. But
middle school.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so long to the short, I started off working in corporate America and I
Mm-hmm.
managed Federal Express for about 13 years. And at that
Mm-hmm.
time, it's like, you know what? I don't think I'm cut out for the grown folks because I'm not babysitting these grown people right now. And my heart was always in it for children. So
They
I
were bigger
literally
kindergartners.
they were
Mm-hmm.
big giant kindergartners giving me excuses and telling me why they couldn't do and why they were late, and I wasn't buying any of that. It's like we can't do
Mm-hmm.
this. So I've always just had this passion and desire to just kind of craft children to be the best version of themselves. So I
Mm-hmm.
literally quit my job, the good old
Mm-hmm.
corporate job at FedEx back in 1997. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what I was going to do when I quit, but I had a passion. And
Mm-hmm.
I really just heard the Lord say, do your first love. And I'm like, well, what is that? These children. And at that
Mm-hmm.
time, I had three of my own. So I quit my job, did
Ooh,
not know
that's a
what I was going
number.
to do. And I
Mm-hmm.
ended up starting Inspiring Minds Youth Development Center, which was
Mm-hmm.
I originally created it for girls because I wanted them to know how to have etiquette skills and academic
Okay,
review and
Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
create some menus, because we don't teach our kids how to cook anymore and they're microwave age. So I wanted the girls
Mm-hmm.
to have some wholesome skill sets
Yes,
so
Mm-hmm.
Michelle.
they could find a husband and be like I am to this day, married 41 years. So I
All right.
did
All
that,
right.
started in my house with six little girls, and I had no clue, didn't even know where City Hall was to get a license, but different people in the city, and I don't know if you all remember, I rest his soul, Mr. Will Moffitt, was a
Yes.
Hmm.
very
Mm-hmm.
good friend of mine at the time. And I just kind of utilized the resources of people to figure out how to start my own business. Moving
Mm-hmm.
forward, I created Inspiring Minds, and as time went on, I had three youth development centers, and the city of Hampton accepted boys and girls, and that just became my platform to motivate and to inspire children and youth to be really the best version. These youth have something to say. The problem
Mm-hmm.
is we just don't ask them questions. They have
Mm-hmm.
answers to a lot of our problems, but we don't
Mm-hmm.
ask them. We put them in a
Mm-hmm.
corner, tell them to be quiet, sit down, shut up. Take
That's
this,
right.
take that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I just saw more in them. And I look at them and it's like, we give them labels and we say they're bad. They're not bad. They just have
Mm-hmm.
that purpose inside of them. They have that assignment inside of them. And it just has to be developed. So I have spent the last 20 years literally um, creating a platform to bring out the best version in young people.
Mm-hmm.
And
Michelle,
That's
we need
good.
more people like you in this whole wide world. We need
Mm-hmm.
more people like you
Mm-hmm.
who dedicate themselves to listening to our
Mm-hmm.
children to help them become their best selves. You're teaching them how to take care of themselves
Mm-hmm.
and
Exactly.
each other, which is what our community should be about.
Mm-hmm. And the
Helping
key
people
thing.
become their best selves, not a cookie cutter version of somebody else
Mm-hmm.
or a mini version of what a parent would hope they would be, but something that they could actually tap into. Because you talk about how do you push, how do you continue to push when things are
Mm-hmm.
are are hard or difficult? It's your purpose. And that's what you
Mm-hmm.
were talking about. It's your purpose. When you know your purpose, you will want to do that even when things are difficult. That's what will pull you through
Mm-hmm.
and push you through those
Mm-hmm.
circumstances. And so helping kids find their purpose and become their best selves will help them problem solve later in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Sign me
Well,
up. I'm with that.
well, look, I'm gonna tell you a key piece that resonated with me, and people would often look at me with a strange manner when I would say, I don't believe that there are bad children.
That's
Okay.
right.
And you said that. My philosophy has always been there are no bad children. They make bad choices. And it is
yes,
our responsibility to help guide them through those bad choices because guess what? That's where they are developmentally.
They're
You
still
know,
developing.
exactly. And we have to help them understand how to make those changes from a cognitive perspective, to be able to make better choices so that they don't find themselves down the road, in a situation that they can't get themselves out of, where some of their choices now are limited or given to them, at that point, and so
which is what they're rebelling against in the first place.
Yes,
not
exactly.
feeling heard, not feeling seen,
Oh my gosh,
not feeling understood, feeling misunderstood.
yes,
In many ways, or being told where to be seen and how to be seen, being forced into a shape that doesn't quite fit for them. Because it's not convenient for everybody else. And so, we need people who are patient with our little people.
You just identified one of these. So currently, when I actually owned my center, I closed it about 6 years ago. My 20-year mark when it came is like, okay, it's time to move on. But one of the coalitions or collaborative partners that I had when I owned it was Alternatives Incorporated. They had grants, I had kids, and we would barter. They would use my kids, write the grants, and we just made it work. So when I did close Inspiring Minds, they did ask me to come on to be a youth development specialist for that organization, which is currently where I am. So Ms. Dr. Williams, you just said something key. Where I am, and I thank them for the fluidity. I have freedom to create because, when you've worked in corporate America and you've owned your business for so long, I can't be put in a box. Don't give me these narrow tunnels. And I don't
Talk
follow
to
rules.
us, Michelle.
I don't follow rules real well because of my creative brain. So what you just said something, Dr. Mason. One of the things that I have created in the organization of Alternatives Incorporated are the Alternative World Changers. It is a group of young people, middle and high school students, who are trained to advocate for change in home schools and communities. And they are given a voice. They are empowered. My goal is to empower them to not only use their voice, but to be remembered when they go in and out of atmospheres, how to say what they need to say, how to articulate their hurts and their feelings, because these kids really do experience a lot of emotional, mental health, social and emotional distresses. And one of our programs that we just recently completed in November, it's called Can You Hear Us? Parent Talk. So the kids created, and this all, I love it because they create all
Don't
of this.
play with me, Michelle, because I teach a parenting class.
Oh my, it was, the kids were like, parents, can you really hear us? We're trying to talk to y'all.
I like
but
that.
You're not listening. So they created a Family Feud game. So we had Family Feud. The kids came up with all the questions that they thought parents didn't listen to them. And the parents were able to say their questions, and we played Family Feud. So it was like, parents, the kids say you are hypocrites. You tell them to do one thing and you do another. Boom. So they were able to play that game to break the monotony. After we got the atmosphere set, then we had the hard conversation. And we gave the parents an opportunity to listen to the children, not listen at them. Listen to what their hearts are saying. Listen to what they're really trying to say to you. They're not being disrespectful for real. They don't have all these attitudes, because they'll smack their lips and stomp their feet. That's just that body language, because they don't know any other way to communicate, because we haven't given them any other options. We just tell them to get over there and do what I tell you to do. So at this Parent Talk, Can You Hear Us? It's the second time we've had it. It gives that open atmosphere for the kids to talk and have a trusting environment, so they don't feel that they're going to go home and get beat up and sat in a corner. So it was really, really great. And I love it because with this organization, the kids, they facilitate. If we have to invite guests to something, they have to write the letters, they have to craft the emails, they have to do the presentations. They are able to be poised in public speaking, and the introverted kids have to step up to the plate and break down some of those fears. And I just love it because they have now the platform to be motivated, as we started off saying in the beginning, to get through the issues and all the mental health stuff that they're dealing with and all the demands on their lives.
And they get to develop that emotional intelligence.
Yes.
Which is necessary to be able to name those emotions and what it should look like and what it feels like for them specifically, and what they can do with it. I always teach my students, it's not our feelings that get us in trouble. It's what we do with them.
what we do.
Exactly.
Is
I
what we
want to
do
come
with
to
them.
the Family Feud. I
Listen,
come, so
sign me
you
up
let-
too.
Yeah, you let me know. I seriously want to come, because one of the things, it speaks to the things I talk to families about when they're in session, and we're having therapy sessions. Oftentimes parents, when they're giving directives to the kids and all, they may say, clean your room. And the question becomes, is it important that the child's room gets clean, or is it important that they clean it the way that you want it done?
That part.
In terms of, hey, make your bed first, then pick your clothes up off the floor, then vacuum. Or if a child decides, I want to vacuum first, I want to make the bed last, the question is it important that the room gets clean?
It's clean.
Or it gets clean in the way that you would clean it? You know what I mean? And so I have to get parents through that whole process to help them to understand, how do we work through this? And it's still called parenting.
That's right.
That
You know?
part.
Yeah.
And in my class, we talk about that you parent the way you've been parented unless you consciously make a decision to do differently.
Mm-hmm.
It's our natural default setting. And so you have to teach them something different, because the people who raised them didn't allow them that process of understanding their feelings. Our parents told us what to feel.
That's
and
it.
how long to stay in our feelings, which
That's
was never.
it.
Which
Well,
was
how you
never,
give a kid a
never
whooping
get
and
in
then
them.
say don't cry?
You better not cry.
Exactly.
Don't drop that tear.
Listen, my mom told me I'd be picking my teeth up in the dark.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what you
She was
said
going to
is,
take my eyes out,
Yeah.
and my teeth, and you will find yourself doing those things unless you consciously do something different. That's why when we know better, we can do better.
That's
if
right.
we make a choice to do so. Education is so key. And who educates you and how you're educated is key.
And I was
Misinformation is
guilty.
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, I was guilty of that. I parented, and I hear y'all, it sounds like we all had the same old school training.
Yeah.
I was parented that way. And I passed that on to my children. And what happened is, when my children got grown, we still have communication. We still stay in touch. They're 40, 37, and 35. And I asked a question, what
you do not look like you have a 40-year-old.
Oh,
right.
You better quit playing with me.
He's so good, y'all.
Is it adopted?
No, look, they think we sisters when we hang out, and I'm like, thank you, I receive it.
Yes,
I'm
thank
not
God
mad
we
about
don't look like what we've been through. I received that too, and I want you to just reach out and rub my hand, because
I'm not mad about it.
I receive every piece of that.
Yeah, but I had to look in that mirror. My kids told me, well, it sounded like you were always fussing at us when you talk to us. And, you just sound, why you got, and I said, I'm not fussing.
Oh, you're always mad. Yeah.
And I was giving it a justification, but I wasn't hearing what they were hearing.
That's right.
So I made that choice, Dr. Mason. You said it. It's all in our choices. Your decisions create your wealth. So I chose to step back, hush a little bit, and listen, because I had to hear them. I wasn't hearing them when I was raising them. I was like, you gonna do this, and this is how, and when you gonna do it. I was that mama, and I
because
thank God
you had that mama.
That's who I had. And, that mama that I had and my father, they were doing the best that they could for us, and they all wanted the best for us. And a lot of times our kids don't understand, we don't want them to have to go through things we went through, but there's another way we can get them through. And I'm fortunate, the kids came out all right. We got a doctor, an assistant principal, and an architect. But
I said that's all right. I said that's more than all right.
That's what I'm saying. That's a little better than all right in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm proud of that.
You want to help with mine? All right.
But at the same time, I had to reach back and check their emotional intelligence.
That's right.
So even though they're successful, quote unquote, like you were saying, Dr. Mason, how do they make the bed? How is the room clean? But how? They got through, but I need to make sure that they're stable and that there's a foundation that they're going to be able to, get through life and be okay with that. So we have those conversations so I can see myself. And I'm not apologizing now for anything that I did.
Right.
I'm just paying attention to how I do what I do moving forward, because there could be more effect if I change some things.
I think that's important to note, even for our listeners, is that perfection is not required, but action is. And that's what you're talking about. Like you're acknowledging that you're making mistakes. And even for the kids to know that it's not perfect. This is a growing process. They're growing and you're growing too, because you've never parented that child before at that stage before. And so with each child being specifically different, there's going to be some mistakes because you're not perfect. And I tell my students all the time too, you need training for every other job in the whole wide world. If you just wanted to drop some fries at McDonald's, you would still have to be trained.
That's right.
But there's no training manual. There is no training required to be a parent. Just because you can does not mean that you should, but there's no training manual allowed for that. So
exactly,
it's a process. It's a developmental process both ways.
Now, how did you keep going through raising your own kids and then working with other kids? What kept you motivated, in this whole process?
And Dr. Mason, I know you're with the school system, on the school board. What really kept me motivated was watching how the system was changing. Not really the system, but the children were changing. I'm literally watching the lack of, the morals, the respect. The fact that the kids that I see sometimes, they're not dreaming. They're not visionaries. They're losing hope. They think it's a microwave age, and they're making decisions to get quick money and quick things and the stuff, and they're not having those conversations. And I'm paying attention to the fact that some of them really don't have a caring adult in their life.
Yes.
And I'm just watching. It's like, this is not the way it has to be. I'm already at that point. I have an 11-year-old granddaughter, 6th grade, and just watching society and what's happening, and concerned about some things that I feel is necessary to build a strong foundation that they're not going to get.
Yes.
This is Black History Month. Okay. So where's the conversation? Where's the teaching? Where are we sitting them down so that they can have total respect for what they get and how they're getting it? They won't know anything about the Harriet Tubmans and the W.
And that it's not destined to stay if you're not vigilant in making sure that it remains. Like, just because it was there, anybody can get there, but keeping it too.
Keeping it. And a part of, I think, what I am really strong about is the fact that I respect the lineage and the suffering that took place for me to get to where I am. And right now, this generation, they're just given stuff, and they don't have to earn anything, and they don't have to work for it. So then when it's gone, they don't know how to handle loss. They don't know how to handle not, quote unquote, being at the top, or they're getting to the top the wrong way.
Right.
So it's a mission for me at this point in life. It's a mission. It's a legacy that has to be left. And I really, I want to pass the torch. I want to create in the young people in these world changers that I'm working with. I need somebody to take the torch and keep it moving. Keep it lit.
You need a couple people. You need a couple people to take the torches.
Yeah.
You need to light fires everywhere.
And it's needed. One of the things, I heard as you were talking, what resonated was the fact that, see, I have to tell people, and they find it funny just because they know me in terms of my caring personality and all, but I am not an everyone gets a trophy kind of person. You know what I mean?
Say that, brother.
And that's what I tell myself. No, you have to earn things. You don't get participation trophies. When my son was in elementary school, I had a conversation with the principal because she called and she says, "Hey, listen, I just want to talk to you about the certificates and all and awards your son will get at awards night." And I said, "Okay." So she says, "Well, he has the best math grade. He has the best science grade. He is the most outstanding athlete. He has perfect attendance. He got the Presidential Academic Award." which three do you want him to have? And she named about 4 more, but she said, which three do you want him to have? I said,
oh, no.
What do you mean 3? If he earned all of those, he should get them all. She said, well, if we get those, we have to give another kid, we want to spread them out. I said, well, if the other kid didn't earn them. And so she went down this road of wanting to make other kids feel great. And I said, I get that. But what does that do for my son when he knows he had the best math score and he doesn't get the award? I said, then he's feeling some kind of way like he didn't do something, I said, so I think what you're trying to do, you're going to push kids in another direction, I said, I can't go along with that. I said, it seems to me that you would want that kid who did not be the top go-getter for math or the top go-getter for science. Guess what? Let them know what they need to do so that next time around they are. Give them that bar to reach for. I said, we're setting these kids up for failure.
It doesn't mean anything if it doesn't mean anything.
That's right.
If it doesn't mean anything, it doesn't mean anything. That's why I had to say it because people think, oh, she said the same. Yes, if it has no value, it cannot be valued.
That's right.
And it will not be valued.
When you watch kids out there playing sports and things, you got a kid out there coming to practice, doing everything he's supposed to do and scoring goals or touchdowns or whatever. And then another kid's over there playing with the dandelions in the grass. And at the end of the season, that kid get the same trophy that the kid who scored 40 points. The same kid get the same trophy that picked dandelions all season. No, I got a problem with that.
And didn't even show up to practice, but one game.
That's right.
We are training a culture of lazy folks, because that lazy child is going to be a lazy adult, and I don't have a job for him. That's just me.
You went there. You went there.
Exactly.
And I was going to say that if they don't have boundaries and if they don't have expectations, and I see it. That's why, Dr. Williams, you said earlier, I was with 150 grown folks at FedEx. But if whatever they are when they're young, if that's that mentality of that, they're used to having everything given to them easy, they're going to expect that at work. And they're not going to have a viable job. And then it makes it hard for people like us to hire people because they're used to being entitled and used to things coming to them. But there has to be, and kids want boundaries. They really want boundaries.
And adults do too.
Yeah, and need them.
Yes, and very much so that we can live peaceably amongst each other. We need to have distinct boundaries. We need boundaries make us feel safe. When we know what to expect and we know what to expect from other people, we do well with that. It's when we don't know that there's chaos. Nobody knows what to do. I also want to speak to you and see what you guys think about the fact that because we're talking about these, our younger generation, our current younger generation, as they're navigating through things that they're not prepared for things. I'm finding too, even at our college students levels, that they're not necessarily prepared to enter the world in the way in which we were prepared to enter the world once they graduate. Like we were ready, most of us left from high school was like, we're never going back home. And it was planned and plotted how we would maintain that. And society has changed a lot, even financially. It's harder for them to be independent right out of college, versus how it was for us. So what do you guys think about parents, not just gap years in education, but needing more time for emotional life development at home versus just being shipped off right after even graduation from college?
I'm really okay with them being shipped off.
She said, "See it." Oh my word! Look, I've seen both parents.
Yeah, their accountability is just so key. And I know one thing we told our kids, they had an expectation. You're going to get a job, you're going to college, you're going to the military, you're going to do something, but you're getting out of here.
Enrolled, enlisted, or employed. You hear what I'm saying?
We knew in our back pocket they could come home and we would look out for. They always have a home, but we had to put something in their minds so that they could prepare the way. And so they need to have that ability to stand on their own 2 feet. And even when they were searching for their careers, come on home and rent a room. until
Right,
you go
right.
find your job. And of
There we
course,
go. There we go. So I
we were,
wanted to
that's
address
it.
that, because as we're talking about transitions, it's not just death, it's also the expectations of how you move through life when things may not be as you expected. So I wanted to cover that topic. I'm glad you said that. There's still ways in which you can help people still grow, even in the process when they need assistance. You said, come home, rent a room.
Come home, rent a room. Now that rent will go to an account so that they would know it, but when they leave, here's some leverage for you. We would give
There
it to
you
them.
go.
Because you don't really need the rent, but they don't know that. But I just feel they have to be able to be resilient. And
Mhm.
kids don't have resiliency if they've never been, if we're giving them everything.
That's
If they
right.
haven't been through anything, we make it so easy. And I find with even my World Changers group, the hardest thing that I find that they have to do with one another is hold their peers accountable. They don't like telling them the hard stuff. They don't like
Right.
the, like if they're a leader, then they have to manage a team. And if the team is doing something that they shouldn't be doing, and I'm sitting back and it's like, well, what are you going to do about that? Are you just going to allow it to happen? Where's
Right.
the course correction? Are you going to have that conversation with them? Or are you just going to let your project go down because you don't want to have the hard conversation and tell them that they're going left or right? Leaders have to lead.
Conflict resolution is definitely
Right.
And
something that needs
that's
to
how they
continue to
do
be
it.
worked on, because people are not always going to agree. In all of my courses, there is mandated that they do group projects, and they're not allowed to switch groups. They're not allowed to change group members. And they have to work through that process. And I explained to them that I don't like everybody that I work with, but
That's
that
right.
doesn't change the fact that I still have to get my job done. And
That's
so
right.
we
Agree.
still have to teach them how to maneuver, how to grow through those aspects. And it's going to be difficult. And as we have different people from different generations meeting in the same workplaces, you have to learn how to maneuver through those differences when you're working with people who don't look like you, don't agree with
Yeah.
you. And even those who look like you don't necessarily agree with you and not necessarily for you. So, how do you work through those difficult times?
Right.
How do you stay motivated to continue? And I think we agree is knowing your purpose.
Yeah.
Knowing your purpose. And you
That's
have
right.
to have a goal and a dream. And I tell the kids, just dream. There is nothing impossible. If
Say
you can
that.
think it, if it comes to your heart, your mind, you can achieve it. It
There you
might
go.
you might go through something to get it, but there is nothing called
You absolutely will
impossibility.
go through something to get it.
Exactly.
If
You're
you
gonna
don't
go
go through
through.
something to get it, I don't know if it's really, really yours.
Right. Because they
That's
won't
right.
find value. They won't find value in it.
That's it.
And
But it's
that and
not
that's a
impossible.
part of teaching kids. And that what I heard in what you were saying is a part about advocacy and self advocacy when they're dealing with certain things. And I love it because a lot of our kids are coming to college now where their parents are calling. Okay. And in the role I'm in now, one of the things I'm having to deal with is like, wait a minute, why is mom or dad calling me? And when they call, I said, hey, listen, tell little Johnny to come by my office. And I share with parents. I said, I've been in your seat. I am a parent, but I had to make sure that my son could advocate for himself.
For
You know what I mean?
himself.
And so that's what I tell them. Let me talk with them. And then, if necessary, I will have them call you and tell
That's right.
you what they need. I said, I'll walk them through the process. If they want to grade with a professor, I will show them how to do this. I said, but I need them to take the steps. I said,
That's right.
because they're not in high school anymore. At this point, they are young adults. I said, and they need to understand this process. I said, because once they finish here, they're going to work. I said, how are you going to help them navigate on their job when
You
they
cannot
are
call their
late?
boss.
Exactly, late for work, conflicts with other employees. I said, what are you going to do? Are you gonna call that little Johnny's boss and say Johnny's not feeling well today? No, Johnny needs to call and let them know he's not feeling well because Johnny's the one who signed that employment contract.
You are
So
absolutely right.
And it's
so
about
it's a,
having those difficult conversations
yeah.
Yes.
early.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, I have to have them, and she'll be 13 this month, and I have to have those conversations. And
Teenager.
I prompt
Yeah.
her and say, hey, we're about to have a difficult conversation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, we're about to have a difficult conversation. But I think that parents need to be honest. So because we're not promised. And so you set them up a great disservice if you're
Mm-hmm.
not able to help them even learn and navigate through the difficult times.
Yeah.
And
that
that's how they'll stay
advocating,
motivated. It lets you know that you're a real person too. And they're
yes.
going to go through some things and they're going to have to learn how to navigate through those difficult times.
And as they do that and advocate, then they become motivated as they have those small successes. I really can do that. I really can talk for myself. I literally just got off a train Friday with a group of our world changers. We went to Washington, D.C., and they sat at the table with our legislators, Congressman Scott, Mark Warner, Tim Kaine, and I sat behind them because they were there to advocate for issues that they see here in Virginia and in their schools. But they get prepared, as you were saying, Dr. Mason, in an environment where they can fail and be safe failing. You know, make your mistakes while we're at the building and while we're practicing and while we're going through stuff. So when you get to DC and you're sitting at the table, you are poised and you are confident and you are empowered and you know that what you are saying matters and somebody's going to listen to you. So they have to be able to advocate for what they need. I can talk, but I'm not them. And in this time, in the generation that we're in, those people at Capitol Hill and who are making decisions are going to listen to our youth before they listen to us because, you know, we're sounding like tinkling brass and just hot air.
Exactly.
But the kids have something, so they have to be empowered. And I love the fact that you did that, told the parent, let me speak to the child. My daughter went to Old Dominion. I'll never forget her first grade. She thought she could call her mama. Nope, she couldn't. Teacher wouldn't talk to her mama. It's like, well, guess you got to go handle that one. And they have to learn to do that. But if they don't get practice and if they're being
they don't have the opportunity,
they don't know
they
what
have
to
to.
do.
Let's say, you know, earlier we were just talking about in terms of just having to leave the house. Drew me back to a conversation. One of my good friends, it was so funny. You know, we were when we were right before we were graduating high school, and I forgot, we were always at each other's home. But I remember her asking, you know, Dad, what are you going to get me for graduation? And with a stern, clear face, he looked her dead in her eyes and said, luggage. Okay.
Time to go.
Listen, and what did she get for graduation? Luggage. You know?
Luggage.
And, you know, I think we want to make sure our children are okay, but we don't understand some things. You know, years ago, I remember the story on National Geographic was talking about the giraffes. As soon as the baby giraffe is born and the baby giraffe is trying to stand up, the mama giraffe takes her head and knocks the baby giraffe down. And the baby giraffe tries to stand back up again. And what does the mama giraffe do? She knocks him back down. And it's just constantly pushing the baby back down. And hearing the narrator explain this process and understanding that you have a lion and a lioness off in the distance who can smell fresh blood and know that there's a calf out there, and that's easy prey. But if that baby giraffe can't get back up on its own and be able to run, you know, that baby giraffe isn't going to survive. So understanding that mama had to let the child go through some things and sometimes even put the child through some things so that the child can survive in the wild by themselves. We as humans have got to look at those types of situations and making sure that we are setting our kids up for success versus coddling them and setting them up for failure, you know? And that's how you look at how do we continue to go through.
But take the lesson from the lion, though. Take the lesson from the lion, but don't beat your child like that. And don't do your giraffe baby like that for real.
CPS
so I want to be clear, like
CPS.
Hello, somebody. We are not advocating violence on this show. Okay, I want to be sure that everybody knows we are not advocating violence on this show. Child maltreatment at all. But what we're saying essentially is helping them be prepared for the real world, what is out there for them. Giving them the necessary tools to not just survive, but to thrive in their environment. Prepare them for out there. You know, that's what we're saying. I want us to be clear. We ain't saying knock your babies all around and keep your face in the dirt. Let them fight their way up. Let them fight their way up. Starve them a little bit and let them know the world is tough out there.
And as you started off in the beginning of this talk, you know, we don't know when our time is up. So it is our duty to prepare our kids and our motto was always, we want to prepare you so that God forbid when anything ever happens to us, you can make an honest living. And like you said,
Amen.
Dr. Williams, you can be prepared to be sustained. You don't have to have that second thought of making a decision to go do the wrong thing to get the quick money. You will be able to be stabilized and you have a foundation and you can make it. Because once we're gone, we're gone.
And you can be creative. You can
Right.
learn to be creative and to dream and to maneuver. Because that's what you're teaching with the emotional intelligence and the creativity. You're teaching them how to problem solve and to understand that problems don't always get solved the same way that they've been solved in the past. And you have to continue to be creative. And if you don't have the ability to dream and think outside the box, you will be trapped in one for the rest of your life. So
and they
I
don't
love
know
it.
what they have
I love
in
it,
them.
Michelle.
Yeah, until you give them an opportunity to figure it out. You know, what and I love that with the world changers. Even actually Mr. Covington's daughter, she just created, they were at a conference and they were given 49 pages to create something to solve a problem. And 3 of them were on a team, but she is was really the only one left that came back and adopted it and became passionate about executing this plan. And her creativity has now allowed her to create an entire mentor-mentee program at her high school. Another one of our young ladies has created an entire mental your space for mental health for the kids to come and just detox when they're stressed out. So yeah, you're right, Dr. Williams. That creativity, you have to allow them to understand that it's inside of them. Give them the opportunity to let it out.
Exactly, because those are the leaders of the future, and we have to nurture that, and so that we don't get some watered down product, and so I love it. I absolutely
that they
love
don't believe in, and that's the part that they can buy in on. When you involve them, then they have also the value there. They value it because they put the work in it too. If you give somebody something and they get like a shirt, they get a hole in it, they may never wear that shirt again. But if they work and earn that shirt, and they get a hole in it, they're going to find a patch for that hole. They may sleep in that shirt. They'll find a way to repurpose that shirt and use that shirt because they earned it. They value it. So it makes a difference.
Yeah, and certainly helping them to value themselves because, of course, the mindset is, let me take care of me as well. And so you teach them that whole process of self-care, and how to do that. And they can continue to keep that passion inside of them and keep everything going. So I tell you, I've enjoyed this conversation. I've enjoyed this time at the table. Those biscuits were good today. I don't know, they put a little something in those biscuits today. I don't know what that was, but there was a little something in them, a little something extra.
They knew we needed to feed our spirit and our soul. Our spirit and our soul. I have thoroughly enjoyed our time as well, Miss Simpson. Definitely have. And like we have told many people, this is the first time but this definitely will not be the last time. I feel there's so much more for us to discover and discuss.
I've had a great time being with you all. And maybe the next time I got this new LLC, it's called You're Next. So maybe the next time, you're next.
All right, sounds good.
You all are amazing.
Yes, indeed.
Yep. And I love what you all are doing.
Thank you for your time.
Yes, definitely. Well, I'm Dr. Richard Mason.
And I'm Dr. Tamara Williams.
And join us right back here next week at WHOV 88.1 FM.
The essence of HU.
Keep your forward.
Someday we'll be able to measure the power of words. I think they are things. I think they get on the walls. They get in your wallpaper. They get in your rugs, in your upholstery, in your clothes, and finally into you.
Thank you for joining us at the table.
Tune in next Sunday at 1 p.m. for more delicious topical recipes for life on the Sunday Brunch.
On Smooth 88.1 WHOV.